Hello, I'm Ingrid and I'm 27 years old. I was orphaned at a very young age when both my parents died in a car crash. With no family to take care of me, I was placed in an orphanage, where I stayed for about 3 years before being adopted by my new parents, who turned out to be billionaires. My life transformed dramatically, becoming rich and fulfilling. They preferred to keep my adoption private, as they wanted to do good without public attention. When I became an adult and moved into my own place, my adoptive parents decided to expand their business and toured Europe seeking new opportunities. Around that time, I met Patrick, my now ex-husband. We met in college and instantly hit it off after a few conversations. Patrick was a cheerful and caring man, which made me like him even more. Our dates led us to become an official couple, and we had a perfect relationship except for one problem. Patrick's family didn't like me. I first met Patrick's parents after we graduated from college. He had waited to introduce me until we were both well settled in our jobs. Patrick had warned me that his parents were quite judgmental about their children's significant others, and he wanted me to make the best impression. I didn't mind delaying the meeting because meeting the parents always made me nervous. By the time I met Patrick's parents, we had been dating for 4 years and were engaged. I knew this might be an issue for his parents since they didn't even know me as his girlfriend. The day before we were supposed to meet them, I was freaking out. They're going to hate me, Patrick. They won't, I promise. Don't you think they'll be shocked to find out we're engaged? Well, yeah, but I don't think it will be that big of a deal. Are you serious? You were worried about introducing me because you know how judgy they are? And you think telling them we're engaged won't make it worse? Look, even if they do judge, will it really matter? It doesn't to me, and I don't think it should to you. You always seem so careful about them. I promise it won't affect us at all, Ingrid. All right, if you say so, but do you think maybe we should not tell them about the engagement and wait a month or so? If that makes you feel better, we can do that. I don't mind either option. Let's hide it just in case. I'll do anything to get on their good side. You have nothing to worry about. I'll be there with you no matter what. I had been so anxious because whenever I suggested Patrick tell his parents about me, he would make a big deal about their potential disapproval. At this point, I began to understand why Patrick was so hesitant to introduce me to his family. Patrick's family was very wealthy and loved living lavishly. They wanted the same for their children and only approved of them dating people who were as rich or richer. Compared to their standards, my lifestyle wasn't considered rich. I hadn't told Patrick about my adoptive parents' wealth because I didn't see the point. By the time I figured out why he was so insistent on delaying the introduction, I felt it was even more unnecessary for his parents to know about my family background. I wanted them to like me for who I was, not for my money. Naively, I believed they would, but I was wrong. We decided to meet Patrick's parents at a fine dining restaurant. Patrick held my hand as we walked in, and I wore my engagement ring on a necklace to keep it with me without drawing attention. When we got to our table, his parents already looked upset. Patrick had warned me that they were strict about punctuality, and we were 2 minutes late. We were off to a bad start. His parents glanced at me with disdain and proceeded to ignore me while conversing with Patrick. I felt increasingly small and out of place, with a growing urge to leave. I kept my head down until Patrick finally directed their attention to me. Mom, Dad, you can't just keep talking to me. This is my wonderful girlfriend, Ingrid. Oh, hello, it's a pleasure to meet both of you. Wish I could say the same. Mom. What? I'm only speaking the truth. So Ingrid, I heard you and Patrick met in college. Is that right? Yes, we did. We happened to share some classes together. Aha, and how did you manage to attend this college? From what I know, the tuition is pretty high, and it's a hard place to get into. Dad, that's enough. Patrick, you will not speak to your father that way. He's asking a very valid question. Ingrid, please answer him. Well, I got a full ride. I'm super grateful for the opportunity because not only did I learn a lot, but I also got to meet Patrick, which has been one of the best things that has happened to me. Of course, it's one of the best things that's happened to you. He's loaded, and you need that kind of money. At least you have some brains because your looks aren't all that great. You know what? That's enough. We're leaving. Come on, Ingrid. Patrick grabbed my hand and we walked out. I was in shock at how his parents had treated me. I couldn't believe people could be so openly cruel. The car ride home was silent as Patrick fumed. When we reached home, he made sure I was okay, but truthfully, I didn't know how to feel. I had dressed nicely, sat properly, and didn't order anything expensive. Yet Paula and Marley judged me without knowing anything about me. Patrick didn't speak to his parents for a while after that. They texted him, claiming we had been very disrespectful by walking out. Patrick didn't respond until a month later when he told them we were engaged. His parents weren't happy, but Patrick threatened to cut contact if they did anything against me. They offered to pay for our wedding on the condition that they made all the decisions. Naturally, neither Patrick nor I wanted that, so we decided to elope. My parents, who were in Europe, knew about our elopement. They were just happy for me and sent a gift to celebrate. Patrick raised his eyebrows at the expensive painting they sent, but I brushed it off as a sign of their generosity. After getting married, we next saw Paula and Marley at a party they hosted for their anniversary. Despite everything, I was genuinely happy they had invited me. Despite the dislike Patrick's parents held for me, I was genuinely happy they had invited me to their anniversary party. However, when we got there, I was ignored by everyone. Being ignored by 2 people was embarrassing enough, but being ignored by about 30 people was even worse. I stuck close to Patrick, but no one tried to talk to me. If I attempted to make conversation, people would either look me up and down and walk away or continue talking to Patrick as if I hadn't spoken. By the end of the night, I was in tears, humiliated, and disgusted by everyone's behavior. At the end of the night, Paula and Marley were asked to make a speech. Although I was tired and wanted to go home, I stayed. In their speech, they began by expressing gratitude for almost everyone in the room, which was the first jab at me. They made several more, and the guests kept laughing. At some point, I couldn't take it anymore. I got up, walked out, ordered an Uber, and cried the entire way home until Patrick got back. When Patrick arrived home, he was upset and angry. "Why did you walk out like that? Do you know how embarrassing that was for me?" "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb with me, Ingrid. I had to endure my parents yelling at me and a lot of the guests pitying me for being with you." "Are you serious? What about how embarrassing it was for me?" "Come on, Ingrid. You could have dealt with it for one night. It was my parents' anniversary. I was ignored by everyone, and your parents chose to make even more fun of me in their toast. How do you possibly expect me to be okay with that? I'm not saying what they did was right, but you could have just lived through it. I would have spoken to them about it afterward. What would that have done for me? I don't like being humiliated. Everyone was laughing at me. You've never been in that position, so it's easy for you to talk about it like it's no big deal. My parents expect an apology from you. I want one too. I'm afraid I won't be doing that. I'll only apologize if they do too. As for you, I see no reason to apologize. You've always stood up for me. I don't see why this is any different. This is different because, unlike before, you humiliated my family in front of all our guests. And your parents humiliated me, your wife, in front of all their guests. Maybe my parents were right about you. You're impossible." With that, Patrick went to sleep in the guest bedroom. I couldn't understand his sudden change in behavior. He had always been the first to stand up for me. For me to walk out should have been a clear sign of how bad they made me feel, yet Patrick didn't seem to care. Patrick didn't talk to me for the next week. I also received texts from his parents calling me ungrateful and an embarrassment. I tried to talk to Patrick, but he refused. Eventually, I decided to give in and apologize to both him and his parents, even though it felt humiliating. I loved Patrick and didn't want this to be the hill I died on. Things only got worse. Patrick's parents retired and hosted family dinners once a week, and Patrick was always invited. The first time they hosted, Patrick brought me along. As soon as I stepped in, the atmosphere became awkward. Paula was busy getting ready, but Marley and the rest of Patrick's siblings glanced at me awkwardly. They didn't talk to me, and Patrick left me standing alone while he caught up with his family. When Paula came downstairs, she saw me and practically flew into a rage. "What are you doing here?" "Excuse me." "No, I will not excuse you. What are you doing in my house right now?" "Well, you invited us for dinner." For the next 2 weeks, Patrick and I didn't speak to each other. It was hard at first, but I got used to it eventually. The family dinners his parents hosted continued, and once a week, I was all alone at home, which I truthfully didn't mind. One of those nights, my parents video called me. "Hey, honey," my dad said. "Hey, sweetie, how's it going?" my mom chimed in. "Hey, dad." "Hey, mom. Things are not good." "Why? What's wrong, sweetie?" my dad asked, concern in his voice. "If you need help with anything, feel free to ask us," my mom added. "I don't think this is something you guys would be able to help me with, but thanks for the offer," I said. "Where's Patrick? Is he not helping?" my dad asked. "That's the thing. He's part of the problem. Huh? Sweetie, could you be a little more clear about what the problem is? My mom asked, her face wrinkled with concern. Well, his parents are pretty wealthy and also very snobby. Oh, I hate those kinds of people, my mom said, her face twisting in disgust. Tell me about it. Anyways, they thought I was some poor girl who could never live up to their standards and fit into their elite circles, so they took it upon themselves to humiliate me every time I met them. What the hell? My dad exclaimed. Oh yeah, and the last time I went over, Patrick's mom decided calling me an orphan was a good insult. That woman, I'm going to claw her face off. How dare she call my precious child an orphan? My mom fumed. Do they not know about us? And what the hell has Patrick been doing in all this? I didn't tell them about you guys because I knew their opinion of me would change if they knew. I wanted them to like me for who I was, not for my wealth. As for Patrick, he's siding with them. He thinks I was disrespectful when I stood up for myself. Honey, are you sure this is the man you want to be with? My dad asked gently. I love him a lot, but this is not how I want it to be. We haven't been speaking to each other for the last 2 weeks, and I'm surprisingly okay with that. We can provide you with the best lawyer. Just say the word, my dad offered. Okay, I think I will need your help with that actually. I'm done with this. All right, sweetie, I'll get you in touch with one of my friends over there. As for your worry about us not being able to help you out, I think we might actually be able to help you get a little sweet revenge. Ha, what do you mean? I asked, curious and hopeful. Your dad and I are coming there next week. We wanted to take you and Patrick on a vacation, but now we can just take you. More things for us to do together, I guess, my mom said with a sly smile. Really? Oh my God, I'm so excited to finally see you both in person again, I exclaimed, feeling genuinely happy for the first time in weeks. The three of us continued to talk for a while. Dad elaborated on his plan to help me. He asked where the family dinners were held, and I told him they took turns hosting at their house and at restaurants. Conveniently, the week my parents were coming, the dinner was going to be at a restaurant. I needed to get the exact location, so I logged into Patrick's email on my phone. If there was one thing I knew about Paula and Marley, it was that they loved to email everyone everything. It wasn't hard to get the location, and I gave it to my parents. Meanwhile, my mom's lawyer friend contacted me, and we started the process of filing for divorce. My parents landed in the States and checked into their hotel, where I met them. We had lunch together, and then they sent me on a spa day they paid for, saying I deserved it while they got ready for their plan. My parents walked into the restaurant where Patrick and his family were dining. According to Dad, when they approached the table, Marley and Paula began to murmur among themselves, recognizing who he was. My mom told me how the conversation went. Hello, Dad greeted them. Oh my gosh, Mr. Burns, what brings you here? Paula stammered. I just happened to see some familiar faces and figured I could drop in and probably dine with you, Dad replied casually. Familiar faces? Who are you speaking about, Mr. Burns? Marley asked, confused. Well, I see Patrick, Dad said, looking directly at him. Hello, a pleasure to meet you. My daughter has spoken a lot about you. Speaking of my daughter, where is she? Your daughter? I'm afraid you're mistaken. I don't think she's here, Paula said, flustered. But she should be, right? Dad asked, raising an eyebrow. I'm sorry, Mr. Burns, but we didn't even know you had a daughter, Marley said, trying to regain composure. Of course I do. And she's married to Patrick. What? I'm sorry, but I think you're mistaken, Paula said, her voice trembling. Yes, his wife's name is Ingrid, and she was an orphan, Marley added. Yes, I do know that, and that is why we adopted her, Ed said calmly. Excuse me, you're her dad? Paula asked, her face paling. Yes, and from what I see, she isn't here. She's been telling me there have been some problems with her in-laws, but I see what the problem was. It was you. No, she was the one who hid this huge thing from us. If we knew, we would have treated her better, Paula stammered. She didn't want you to treat her nicely because of her background, Dad retorted. Oh well, she did ask me to hand this over to Patrick. Dad handed Patrick the divorce papers and walked out. After that, it only took a couple of phone calls for a lot of investors to pull away from Marley's business. They were quickly crashing, and nothing was more satisfying than watching them crumble down to the levels they had made fun of. I received a lot of texts from Patrick's family calling me nasty names, while some begged me to talk to my dad and reverse what he had done. Patrick, thankfully, signed the divorce papers without any hassle. My parents and I went on a long vacation after that. I had the time of my life and slowly began to heal. It hurt that I had lost the love of my life, but I also learned how important it is to stand up for myself. I'm forever grateful to my parents for everything they've done for me, and I can't wait to see what else life has to offer me.